As Ukraine marked 3 years fighting to defend their land from Russian invaders, the president of the ally they have depended on the most said, "We'll see," when asked if Ukraine would have to give up territory that Russia has taken. At the United Nations, the United States voted against a resolution backed by most of Europe demanding Russian withdrawal from Ukraine. French President Emmanuel Macron visited the White House and said during a press conference that any deal with Russia must be checked and verified. CBS's Erica Brown was there and joins us from the White House. So, Erica, what did the president say, if anything, about the parameters of a deal that might bring this war to a close?
Well, John, President Trump today said that he wants to move directly toward a deal, but acknowledged that a ceasefire agreement was likely to happen sooner. But he did say that an end to the war could come within a few weeks, quote, if we're smart. Now, French President Macron said that the meeting today was an important step forward for these negotiations and said that they discussed security terms of a potential deal. What those terms are and the timing of a deal at this point remains to be seen. But President Trump says that he expects to meet with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in the coming days, potentially as soon as this week, and left the door open for another meeting, a potential meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin. But a key takeaway, John, of these meetings today was French President Macron saying that he believes that Russia was the clear aggressor in this conflict. This was a view held by him and a number of his Western European allies. And he said that any peace deal would have to include Ukraine's sovereignty and not their surrender, and that a ceasefire agreement would have to make that guarantee. Also, French President Macron leaving the door open for potential deployment of European troops on the ground in Ukraine in a peacekeeping capacity. This would come after a ceasefire deal, after a peace deal were firmly in place, in a limited capacity and in a show of solidarity.
And Erica, Macron and Trump have had a kind of interesting relationship over the years. How did the two seem to get on as they were wrestling over this very difficult foreign policy issue?
Yeah, and it appeared to be a sort of delicate dance between the two. Obviously, Macron believing that Russia's the clear aggressor in this, but also an interesting moment, John, today in the White House when President Trump was re-emphasizing a point that he's made over the past few weeks, that he believes that Europe should contribute more to stability and security for Ukraine. French President Macron actually corrected him, saying Europe has contributed more than half, 60% of the total effort in loans, grants, and real money. But this was a moment that obviously raised some eyebrows of President Macron contradicting President Trump in real time in the Oval Office.